Welcome to a new episode of the Altar Power Session. My name is Kim O'Neill, and today we're going to be speaking with Transformation TV teacher Dianne Windsor. Welcome, Dianne.
Hello, everyone. Nice to be here.
I am so glad that you're here. And what I want to do first is I want to go ahead and just share with everyone a little bit about you in a nutshell by reading your bio, and then we'll get into learning more about you through our conversation.
Absolutely.
Okay, wonderful. So, Dianne Windsor is the host of the Spiritual Healing by Dianne show. She's a certified happiness trainer, a licensed spiritual coach, angel card reader, and the best-selling author of the book, You Can Be, Do, or Have Anything. As a happy for no reason certified trainer, Dianne loves sharing the happiness tools and empowering people to lead a life of deep and lasting happiness through her speaking, coaching, workshops, and online programs. She also helps her clients work with their angels through card readings and angel clearings. She has learned that when you work with angels, you can lean upon their light to help you heal physically, spiritually, emotionally, and financially. Dianne is passionate about empowering others to have faith in themselves to make their dreams come true. And that's Dianne in just a little nutshell there.
Oh, thank you, Kim. That was very well done.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, I'm excited to learn more about what you do because it absolutely, you get the sense that it's just very uplifting, very healing, and I love it. So I want to start off with one of the simplest and yet we could also say probably biggest questions of who is Dianne?
Well, that is a very, very interesting question because I've developed spiritually along the way. Oh my goodness, when spirituality came into my life, I absolutely knew nothing about it. It was so interesting. My sister took me to a retreat about probably 15 years ago in Jasper. Absolutely gorgeous. But I didn't know Reiki, I didn't know hypnotism, I didn't know so many things that they were talking about. And I was so jealous. There were actually people there who saw leprechauns. And I went, what? Why can't I see leprechauns? I found out why later, but it was very interesting. And then I just kind of, absorbed myself in everything I could get my hands on. I joined a Hay House. I read motivational shows, and I listened to something in the radio in my car all the time. I went back to that retreat the next year and was blown away because everything made sense to me then. And I got so much more out of it, and I just started to grow. And that's where it all started, really.
Wow.
And you'll learn more as I go on and tell, different things about different aspects of how I encountered other programs and learned. And I just feel like I'm a sponge. I can't get enough. I have so many things right now that, I want to learn this and I want to learn that. And it's so empowering to help other people. Yeah. There's so many people in this world, unfortunately, they don't realize that their thoughts create their reality. It's what you think about. If you're negative and complaining all the time, the universe thinks that's what you want, and you just get more of the same. If people only knew that if you just focused on the positives and gave gratitude for all the things that you already have in your life, you can change your life. It's amazing.
I love that. Well, will you take us back a little further? What was going on in your life before that retreat, and help paint the picture for how your life was then to how it is now?
Okay, well, I was working. I started working at the University of Manitoba when I was 18 years old, and I just kind of grew through the ranks and became a supervisor. I had 10 people under me. And I retired early at 55 because I was just thinking that there was people that I could be better serving people elsewhere. I was in IT and I had hired some amazing people. I just didn't feel like I needed to be there anymore. So I asked my financial advisor if I could retire, and he said yes. And so that was wonderful. So I had been married for almost 39 years before I got divorced. Best thing that happened to me. So don't feel bad about it, but it still was a very trying time. I have two daughters. The oldest one is now, I think she's 42, and my youngest is 38. And I have two adorable grandchildren. Violet's birthday is actually today. She just turned 7. And I have Adam, who just in September turned 10. So they really are the light of my life right now. But back then, uh, well, like I say, after 39 years of marriage, I got divorced, and so no longer did I have all this money that I thought I had, because I had to split everything in half. But it was all good, because they say everything happens for a reason, and I know
Yeah.
that that happened for a reason, and things have been amazing on my journey since then. I've just learned so much about myself, and how to be strong, and yeah, like
What what was your thinking process like back then? Did you know prior to getting divorced that your thoughts helped create your reality?
absolutely not. No, I didn't really get into all of that until, I guess, it was after I was divorced, and I went to a spirit night, actually. It was somebody by the name of Michaela, and there was 12 people in the room, and she brought in a spirit for each person. And she's brought in Archangel Michael for me and said that I was to be an angel therapist. And I went, what? I can't even hear my own angels. How am I going to hear other people's angels? That just totally threw me. And she said, no. She said, you're going to one day channel. You'll get messages through your dreams. Oh, and she said that I would be trained by Doreen Virtue to be an angel therapist. And she also said, and one day I'll write a book. And I went, write a book? Like, what am I going to write about? She said, no, you'll have help from someone else. So I went, okay. So, I was just wanting to know what this was all about. I immediately went home. I looked up Doreen Virtue on the internet. Well, her course, she was only teaching it one more time, and it was in June, and it was going to cost $3,000. And she lives in Hawaii. And of course, I live in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. So the flight from Winnipeg to Canada to Hawaii would be very expensive. And it didn't include the hotel or anything like that. And that was just out of my realm. But I did find a lady by the name of Bonnie Bogner. And she was trained by Doreen Virtue. And she lives in Regina, which is about a 6-hour drive for me. And I took my training through her. And she said, okay, now you have to go out and do 10 readings for free. So I did that. And then I started doing a show. And it was interesting because my very first, it's a craft show, it was out of town. And on that day was also the very first day that I had a date with my current husband. So it was November 19th, which is on Tuesday. So it'll be our 8th anniversary of when we actually met. So my life really started to change then. And yeah, I was amazed at how, just with all the courses and the education that I got, I decided I wanted to get my license. So I took some correspondence courses and took some coaching courses. And once I started reading, trust what you get. The very first thing that comes into your mind is from your angels. And I was amazed at how the cards would paint a picture, and there's be like threads going through it. And it was exactly what the people asked, and it answered their questions, and it helped them. And yeah, it was quite a journey to go through. And I started my Sunbeams for Your Soul business 8 years ago.
Okay.
And yeah, it's been amazing journey since then. The people that I've met,
That's
the people
awesome.
that I've helped, it's been wonderful.
Well, one thing I love that you shared is that you used to be in IT. And I'm curious. I love hearing stuff like that, because someone might think, right, that someone in IT would never find themselves eventually being an angel card reader or something. And so I want to ask you is, how connected, or how much did you communicate with your angels back then, if at all?
I didn't
okay.
at all. I didn't really even, I knew there was angels, but I didn't realize that we all had our own angels, and I didn't realize that there were archangels that we could call upon, or that there were spirit guides. I didn't know any of that. Nothing, no. So it was all a total learning experience, and awesome. Yes.
And what led your sister to take you to that retreat, that first retreat?
I'm not really sure what led her. I think she just wanted to go with someone else, and I
Okay.
was available,
Okay.
and I was open. You know, she said, you might not be able to follow along with everything, but just be open to it. And my goodness, she had, I think it was in the I think it was the second year that we went. She had this incredible thing happen to her. And I know this is going to sound really weird to some of our listeners, but she was in one session lying on the bed, and the lady told her that she was bound with ropes around her,
Wow.
and that in a past life, she had been bound, stuffed in a sack, and thrown in the river and left to drown. So this lady called in like 100 angels around my sister Cindy, and they together cut all the binding off of her. And when she left there, she was totally drained, like totally drained. Didn't really partake in the rest of the day.
Okay.
And then we went home, and it was like incredible. She just lit up. She dropped about 30 pounds without even trying, because it just shows that all those emotions that were
Yeah.
stuck in her body were now released. And she just dropped like 30 pounds, and she was radiant. She was just like, her eyes were sparkling. Plus, she had been recently divorced, and she found this gentleman who was quite a bit younger than her. And she said the sex was amazing. So just by that, weekend away, it really changed her life there for a while. It was, yeah. So I became a believer after that. Yes.
Wow. Well, it sounds like you were fairly open to learning more about your own spirituality and angels and things like that. Is that accurate, or was there any sort of resistance or anything that got in the way that kind of was a big part of the process for you?
If there was anything that got in the way, it was just my own self-doubt, because I was totally open, and I was so excited about it. And when I talked to Bonnie, I said, I don't know if I'm going to be able to hear my angels. And she said, I guarantee that through this course, you will hear your angels. And I went, and I just trusted her. I just, thought that she knew what she was talking about. And I went with it. And I think I was the only one in that course who actually went on to, be a paid angel card reader. The rest kind of, I think, maybe they were too shy or didn't believe in themselves. But, I just trusted the universe that this was where my path was to lead me.
Wow. If you had to describe how your life was before you really embraced your spirituality to how you do embrace it now, how would you describe the contrast of the two different parts of your life?
I'm probably going to say it was boring. I didn't realize it back then. I mean, I was very busy, but the things that I was doing, I mean, I was helping. I was a parent advisor for a Pride group, which is a parent resource institute to help young people uh, convince their peers not to take drugs and alcohol. And that, yes, that was a big highlight in my life at that time. But when I think back, I mean, as much as my husband and I loved each other, we didn't really have anything in common. He did not like the water. We went to Australia, and I went snorkeling by myself on the Great Barrier Reef, and he sat in the boat. So that was kind of like, oh my goodness, an eye opener that we have so many differences. And he wasn't a conversationalist. I was easy to share my feelings. I could talk, but he didn't know how. So we would sit, and I would talk. He was a great listener, but I suddenly realized, when I think back now, that there was a lot of years that it was. But like I say, everything happens for a reason. And, maybe my current husband just wasn't ready to come into my life at that time, and it just sort of happens. So, by the way, my current husband is a lover of water. He was a scuba diver. So I took up scuba diving, and we've traveled around the world now going scuba diving and snorkeling. And we're actually going to Cabo San Lucas next week. And that's what we hope to do some scuba diving and snorkeling, and swim every day. And yeah.
Awesome. If
Mm-hmm.
If someone were to ask you, and I guess I'll be that someone, why do you do what you do today? Being a certified happiness trainer, angel card reader, hosting your show, all of that.
Well, I think that maybe I should go back and tell you why I got into being a happiness coach,
Okay.
because I'm not really a coach. I'm a trainer. It's a better word for it. But okay, my younger daughter suffers from mental illness and has since she was 18 years old. She, I don't know how many times, tried to commit suicide. You know, she was depressed. She was, no, I don't think she ever really wanted to kill herself. She just, you know, needed the attention. And it was very trying to get not just help for her, but help for my husband and I, because we had no idea how to help her. And I guess I was listening to a Hay House one day, and Marcy Shimoff was on there, and she was talking about this program that she had called Happy for No Reason, and how it helped people who were depressed to be happy. And I immediately thought of my daughter, and I thought, okay, so I ordered it. It came, and I knew my daughter wasn't ready to take that program at the time, so I thought I'll just put it away for a while. It was probably years that it sat on the bottom of the shelf until I started my training to be an angel card reader, and I had to drive to Regina 6 hours, and I wanted to listen to something in the car. I was going to go by myself, so I thought, okay, here's this Happy for No Reason, and it happens to be 6 hours long. Well, I listened to it all the way there, and I listened to it again all the way back, and I cried and I laughed, and the stories were just like inspiring and amazing. And I so wanted my daughter to embrace this and to listen to it. But I still, at that point, she still wasn't ready. It was about a year later, I think, that I thought, you know, I think she's ready. And I said to her, you know, I listened to this amazing program. It's called Happy for No Reason, and there's a manual, and I'd love to do the manual, but I don't really think that I am going to do it by myself. Do you think you might want to do it with me? And she kind of like rolled her eyes and said, oh, I'll listen to the first CD. So I said, great. So on a Sunday, I went over, we listened to the first CD, we did everything in the manual, and I said, so what did you think? I'll listen to one more CD. So the next Sunday I went back, and this continued until like 6 or 7 weeks later, she was finished the whole program. And oh my goodness, it changed her life. Like, wow. People would come up to her and say, like, what have you been doing? You're just not the same person anymore. You're so much more positive and happy. And yeah, it was, and I would have liked to have taught it back then, but she decided she wanted to start her own little business and teach this. And so I helped her get the program. Back then it was really quite different. You were kind of left on your own resources a lot, and she would have had to create a video and send it in. And she didn't really have to teach that. She just a video of herself teaching something. Well, unfortunately, my daughter and I got estranged shortly after that. Apparently, I was giving her too many solutions. You know, she would always come to me with all of her problems, and I am a mom. You know, I want to help. So, you know, I was always giving her suggestions, and she didn't want that. She just wanted me to listen. So, you know, we kind of fell apart for a while there, and that was, apparently there was an expiry date, and she didn't meet the expiry date to do the videos, so it fell by the wayside. So this was fast forward many years later, till last May, I guess it was. And you know how, you might not realize it, but the universe kind of gives us some clues as to a path that we should take or another journey that we should be on. And for some reason, I saw that packet, the booklet of Happy for No Reason, and I opened it and I saw the CDs and I saw the manual, and I thought, oh, one day I'd really love to teach this. And I closed it and put it back. Well, 2 days later, a a friend of mine came. We were doing a workshop together, and we were collaborating on how we were going to do it. And out of the blue, she said, "Yeah, one day I think I'd like to teach happy for no reason." I went, "What?" So that was it. That was kind of my sign. So I went on the internet, and another sign, she was teaching it just for the second time, and it was starting the following Wednesday.
Oh my goodness.
I didn't realize that you had to be interviewed and you had to be accepted to do this, and you had to fill out this application. I just emailed and said, you probably don't remember who I am, her assistant Kim. And I said, but my daughter, and I kind of explained a little bit about who I was and what I did. And immediately they came back and said, "We'd love to have you. You don't even have to go through the interview. You're in." I found out later that there was 1,200 applicants, and they only picked 118. I'm like, yay! So I was, so once I took the course, and I actually, my first time that I did it, I did a 2-hour session to an institution here called Fort Garry Women's Resource Center. They help women get back on their feet after they got divorced or whatever's going on in their life. So I did it for free for them. And once I did it and told some of the stories, I'd love to share a story today too, that it just made me realize that this is what I want to do. I want to bring happiness to other people and show them how it can be done.
That's beautiful. Oh, I love that. What were there any challenges along that journey for you of learning about the learning at the program, and then what was going on with you and your daughter that you had to overcome to move forward?
I think that I had to realize that she was on her own path, and that, I mean, you have no idea what my husband and I went through with her to get called from the hospital, and she's tried to commit suicide. Yeah, it's very difficult to be a parent and see your child like that. But through my studies, I learned that we all have our own path and we all have our own journey. So when we come to this earth, apparently we've already decided what lessons we want to learn. And some people, they just pick really hard lessons like she did. And it's not up to me as a parent to move that path and to have her go in a different way, because she's only going to have to come back and learn those lessons again if she doesn't succeed in learning them this time. So I think that was a struggle, knowing that I had to just kind of step back and let her live the life that she chose to come here. And she chose, they say that you choose your parents. So she chose myself and my ex-husband for a reason. Yeah, it's very interesting to think of it. So sometimes when people tell me that they're, how can I help my son or my daughter, and they're already adults, and I just say to them, like, be there for them, listen to them. If they ask you for a suggestion, fine, but if not, just listen to them and let them make their own mistakes, because that's how they're going to learn.
Was there anything that really supported you in being able to take that step back as a loving parent?
That's a difficult one. It's funny, when I went through divorce and I was going through all my challenges with my daughter at the time, people told me that they couldn't believe how strong I was. And I thought, wow, like, I obviously was giving the impression to people that I was really strong, but at times I was crying, and I guess it was friends. Yeah, I had a few friends that I could pick up the phone and talk to them anytime, and they would just listen to me and make a few suggestions. And I think that I, at that point, realized that this all happened for a reason, and I was learning lessons along the way, and this was my journey, and I was going to embrace all the wonderful things about the journey and not dwell on the negatives, because the more that you dwell on the negatives, the more negative things come to you. So I started doing a gratitude journal.
Nice.
Writing down every night what I was grateful for. That really helped me to put things into perspective and to let the negative things pass and just to really embellish the good things that I had in my life. And there were a lot of good things. Through my studies, I learned how to manifest. Oh my goodness, I'm passionate about teaching people how to manifest things into their life because I've been so successful at manifesting. I even manifested my current husband. Like I did the 3-step process and I wrote my desire statement. And first I manifested a gentleman into my life and there were red flags right from the beginning and people warned me and I kind of went, I just ignored them. And I did realize after 9-10 months that no, this wasn't going to work. But I thought, he came into my life for a reason. It's fine. So it gave me more clarity as what I really did want in a new man. So I wrote a new desire statement. And I felt like I was floating on air, walking down the hallway to my apartment and knowing that this amazing man was going to come into my life. And that was in March, and Rick came into my life in November. And
Nice.
the sparks just hit right away. And we found out we literally lived like 3 blocks away from each other. I could walk to
Wow.
the place in like 5-7 minutes. Yeah, it's really crazy.
Oh my goodness. Well, you host a show called Spiritual Healing by Dianne. And will you share with us a little bit more about what you talk about on that show?
Well, I started explaining to people about all the different beings that they have around them and how we have 4 gifts. We all have 4 gifts of connecting to our angels. And I
Okay.
explained that and how they could figure out which was their number 1, 2, and 3, and 4 gifts, because we all have them in a different order. And I talked a lot about how one show, I think I taught people how they could read their own cards, and I showed them all the decks that I used and how they could teach themselves how to read their own cards. I talked about manifestation and how we could use the law of attraction to manifest amazing things into my life, and told a whole bunch of stories with that. I interviewed a very interesting young man. His mother brought him to me when he was 16 years old, and he had seen a really dark entity in his house and just kind of freaked him out. His mother had taken him many different places, but no one could help him. And I'm actually surprised that I was able to help him, because I really just told him what I knew about the angels, and that it says the law, you just tell that entity to go away. It's the law, they have to obey you. And I guess I told him some stories about my favorite archangel, which is Archangel Shamriel. She's helped me so often to find lost objects. It's incredible.
Wow.
I like to thank them as if it's already happened. So this one time I said I lost my MP3 player because I listened to things in the car all the time and I couldn't find it. So I said, thank you, Archangel Shamriel, for helping me find my MP3 player. And immediately I got in my mind, look under the passenger seat in your car. And I'm going, I've looked there a couple of times already. Okay, out to my car, sweep my hand underneath the seat, and there was my MP3 player. So he decided that he went home and he had lost this beautiful little cross, gold cross, and he hadn't found it for a long time. So he sat on the bed, and for some reason he connected with Archangel Michael and said, Archangel Michael, please help me find my little cross. And he sat there and nothing happened. So then he tried again. Nothing happened. So he didn't give up. The 3rd time, thank you for helping me find my little cross. And he got in his head to look in this little tiny box that was on his dresser. And he thought, oh, I never would have put it in there. But he went over and he opened it up, and there was his cross.
Wow.
That really made a believer in him. Like, it's unbelievable. His mom brought him back a year later. She actually gave me a hug and told me that I saved his life. She said he was suicidal at the time that he had brought him. And he's totally turned to Archangel Michael to the point where he has a tattoo on his arm, all the way up his arm, of Archangel Michael. And he's turned to God, and he's on Twitter, and his name is Mr. Preacher. And he just turned his life around and started helping other people and wants to be in the ministry. And I'm kind of going like, whoa, like, oh my goodness. So I interviewed him, and it was very, nice of him to do that for me. So I've started interviewing different people. Marcy Shimoff actually let me interview her.
Nice.
Yeah, that was, I think, episode 12, I think it was. And then I interviewed Kim, the lady that works with her behind the scenes, well, not even behind the scenes, but on her miracle. She has a miracles like a
Program.
program, which I took as well, and her Happy for No Reason. So I interviewed Kim. She's a very spiritual person. It was very, very interesting. I think my last interview I did with a friend of mine who's a tarot card reader, so that the listeners could see the difference between tarot card reading and angel card readings. And we always, once a year, get together and she reads my cards and I read her cards, which is very exciting. I'm supposed to have all this money coming into my life soon, so I really I'm looking for that part of it.
Well, let's talk a little bit more now about, you have a boot camp product that people can purchase through Transformation TV. Will you tell us what people can expect when they purchase that?
Well, first of all, they can actually, for free, listen to my 45-minute free interview, or I guess it was just a free video that I did, and giving them all the ideas of what I would be talking about in the boot camp. And then I did a 6-part series. So each one is 30 minutes. So you only have to listen to 30 minutes at a time. I know everyone's really busy, and it's just, I think, an ideal time frame. And in there, I really delved into a lot of the things actually that I have in my book about how the angels work and how you need to ask them for assistance, and gave them stories. And I think stories are really powerful because it shows people that it actually works. Angel stories of, wonderful things that have happened to people because they've leaned upon their angels for support, and then went into the whole manifestation. So if they would have come to one of my workshops about the law of attraction or about angels, it kind of encapsulated a little bit about all of that.
Okay. What type of person do you think is going to benefit most from your boot camp product?
I think anyone who's open to learning more about their angels, as well as anyone who's maybe struggling right now in their life and want to learn how to change their reality from negative to positive by learning how the whole law of attraction and that our thoughts create our reality. I think that would help immensely.
Awesome. And do you tend to, excuse me, do you tend to notice a trend or a pattern with the types of people that seek out your help?
Well, one thing I do notice is it's almost all females. I have very few males that come to my workshops or come to any of for an angel card reading. And I think that women are just more into self-development and spirituality than men are. Men, maybe they think of it as woo-woo, and even though it's now, they can prove that it's based on science. I've really connected with someone called Dr. Joe Dispenza, and oh my goodness, he's just an incredible person with an incredible story. And just quickly, I'll just tell you that he was in a triathlon and got hit by an SUV, catapulted on his back, broke 6 vertebrae in his back, and because he was a chiropractor, just decided that he was not going to go through the surgery. He was going to use mind over matter. And he actually was, I think because he was a chiropractor, he knows how the body works. So he was able to, in his mind, think of how everything had to connect and go back together to allow him to get up and walk. And then he made a promise that if I can walk again, I will devote my life to the science of mind over matter. And that's exactly what he's done. He's been all over the world, done all this research, scientific research. I think some people need to know that it's scientifically proven, so they don't think of it as woo-woo. But he's been a big exciting part of my life lately, just listening to his inspiration and what he's done for people who he's healed and helped.
Do you have an ideal type of client?
I think my ideal client would be someone who is very open. A
Okay.
lot of the a lot of the females that I have come, I'm going to say maybe 70% of them are older women,
Okay.
surprisingly enough, women who are 50 and over.
Okay.
Uh, and then I have some very young women who come who are just totally open to the whole idea and wanting to ask questions and how to get assistance from the angels. So yeah, it's very interesting the differences, but most of them come to me because they have specific things they would like to ask. And it may be, career wise, it could be, how to find an ideal mate. It could be, financial issues that they're coming to find out about.
Okay.
And it's amazing how the cards answer their questions. And
Nice.
if not, then I just ask the angels myself and get information. And I I have lots of tools now that I know of that I can share with them that might help them along the way.
That's
Mhm.
wonderful. Well, on that note, as you mentioned tools, would you share with us today one tool or one life hack that today's audience can use in their life?
Absolutely. I am actually going to give you two because
Okay.
there's the angels and there's the happy for no reason. So the biggest thing that I can say to people that to help them with their angels is they have to know that they have to ask. The angels apparently cannot intercede in our life unless it's life threatening, unless we ask. So a lot of people's angels are unemployed. They're just not allowed to help unless we ask. And nothing's too big, nothing's too small. So you can just, even if you just want to sit and close your eyes and just say, help me, angels, with, if they're driving a car, they could say, help me find a perfect parking spot at the mall. If they want to start small just to see if it's really going to work. One thing that they need to know is that they can't ask a question that can be answered with yes or no, because the angels want you to make that decision yourself. But what you can ask them is, let's say you're not sure if you should move or not. So you
Mhm.
can say, and I like to say it as if it's already happened.
Okay.
Thank you, angels, for putting opportunities in my path that will help me make the decision as to whether or not I should move. And then you have to be aware. You have to, maybe somebody will say something to you, maybe you'll hear something on the radio, maybe you'll get something in the mail. You just have to be aware of the clues that you're getting. So here's an example. This is Marcy Scheimoff's story. Her and her husband were looking for another house, and there was one house that they weren't exactly sure, but they thought, well, maybe they'll buy that house. So before they got there, she said, okay, I want you to, angels, thank you for giving me a clue as to whether or not we should purchase this house. Well, they park the car, they're walking up the walkway, and there's a dead animal lying on the path. I can't remember what, and kind of whether it was a cat or what, but it was a dead animal. And that told her right away that this is not the right house for them. So then a few weeks later, they found another house, and she did the same thing. Give me a really clear message if this is the right house for us. And they're walking up the path, and there's this majestic, beautiful deer that walks right in front of them. Well, I mean, obviously that's a perfect example. So that's, those are some of the ways that messages can come to you. Remember to ask. And I'll just quickly tell you the 4 gifts that we have. So for instance, my number 1 gift of connecting with my angels is called claircognizance, which is just a knowing. My second gift is clairsentience, which is a feeling. So people might feel things in different parts of their body, or they get that gut feeling. My third is clairaudience, so that's clear hearing. So just twice in my life, I've actually heard someone, house is empty, nobody's around, and I hear, Dianne. It's kind of spooky, but twice that happened to me. But it's my third gift, so that's why it doesn't happen very often. But clear hearing, so you could even hear the thoughts in your head. That's from the angels. My last one, unfortunately, is clairvoyance, which is clear vision.
Okay.
So my chances of ever seeing an angel are very slight, which is too bad because I would love to see an angel. You can work on your gifts to make one stronger than the other, but I have not had time to concentrate on that. So that's my, kind of angel gift to them. And
Nice.
to we have 21 happiness habits in Happy for No Reason. So I'm just
Okay.
going to share one, which is one of my favorites, and it's gratitude and appreciation. So I already talked a little bit about a gratitude journal. If you don't want to actually write a journal, I suggest that when you go to bed and you put your head on the pillow, close your eyes and think of 5 things that happened to you during the day. It doesn't have to be anything big. It could be as simple as, I'm happy that the sun was shining today, or I'm happy that my best friend called me. It doesn't have to be anything big, but then you're going to sleep with these positive things going through your mind. There's so many people that put their head on the pillow and they think of all the bad things that happened to them during the day. That's not the way you want to go to sleep. So the other one is appreciation, and how important it is to appreciate what you already have in your life and appreciate more than anything people. And to give you an example, I'd love to share. It's called the Blue Ribbon Story. It's really a precious story. It's all about a teacher who was teaching high school, and she decided she wanted to do something different in her class one day. So she called each of her students up, and for instance, she would say, Kim, I love that you're so caring and compassionate with your fellow classmates. Thank you. I really appreciate you. Paul, I love your humor and you make people laugh and you're smiling all the time, and I really appreciate you. And she went on to each student in the class and called them all up individually, and she gave them a blue ribbon, and the ribbon said, "Who you are makes a difference."
Aw.
So then she asked, "So how did that feel?" And everyone, "Oh, great. I loved it. It was wonderful." And so she said, "Okay, this is what I want you to do." And she gave them all 3 blue ribbons. She says, "I want you to go and I want you to find one person that you appreciate and give them a blue ribbon, and then give them 2 other ribbons for them to pass on." So this one boy went to his part-time job and said to his boss, "Boss, I'm just this punk kid, but nobody else would hire me, but you saw something in me and you gave me a chance. And for that, I really appreciate it. I've made enough money now to go to college in the fall. And here's a blue ribbon that says, 'Who you are makes a difference.' And here's another one. Here's 2 more. Would you please pass them on?" So he thought about it, and the next day he went into his boss and he said, "Boss, I've worked for you for 20 years and I've never told you how much I appreciate you, how genius you are, and how creative, and you've taught me so much. And here's a ribbon that says so. Oh, and here's another blue ribbon. Please pass it on." So that boss was in his car driving home and thought to himself, "Who can I give this ribbon to?" And then it came to him, his 14-year-old son. So he got home, he called his son in, sat him down, and said, "Son, I know that I've really been harping at you lately to do the dishes and do the lawn and get your homework done. And I've never really said how much you mean to me, that I love you with all my heart. And other than your mother, you're the most important thing in my world." And at that, the son ran out of the living room. And the father thought, "Oh my goodness, like, what did I do?" About 5 minutes later, the son came back. His tears were wiped, and he was holding something in his hand. And he looked at his dad and said, "Dad, thank you so much for telling me that you loved me and that you appreciated me, because tomorrow I was going to commit suicide. And here's the gun. Please take it from me."
Mm.
Oh my goodness. Like, that man, if he had not done that, his son would have taken his life the next day. And it was all stemming from that teacher deciding to tell her students how much she appreciated them. So my call to action for everyone who's listening to this is to please find someone that you appreciate, and not just tell them you appreciate them, but tell them why you appreciate them. And in fact, if you can find 2 or 3 people and tell them that and ask them to pass that message on, I think that it would be so, so powerful.
Oh, that's a beautiful story, Diane. I love the ripple effect nature of it, of how we all have an impact on each other.
Absolutely.
That's
So, so
wonderful.
true. Mm.
Well, Diane, as we come to a close, where can people go to find out more about you if they'd like to work with you or get your boot camp program, watch your TV show, all of that?
Okay, so if they want to get my boot camp or watch my TV show, they can go to transformation.tv. It's free. They can just sign up to become a member and they can find me on there. Also, if they wanted to connect, they could go to spiritual, it's actually www spiritual, oh my goodness, I keep thinking of spirit, okay, spiritualhealingbydianne.com, spiritualhealingbydianne.com. Or they could even email me, dianne.windsor@gmail.com. Dianne has two N's, Dianne dot, and then Windsor is the way it sounds, WINSER@gmail.com.
Nice. Wonderful. Well,
Mhm.
Diane, thank you so much for being here today. And thank you to everyone who's watched. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
And thank you, Kim, for taking this opportunity and some time out of your life. I know that you're going to be moving and that's a really busy time. So thank you so much for interviewing me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Diane. I appreciate it.